The seventh seal chamber was different from the others. Kang Daiho stood in front of it alone except for Park Jiwoo beside him. The rest of humanity watched through cameras and screens, billions of people waiting to see what would happen when the final seal broke. The chamber was empty, just a plain white room, perfectly spherical with no symbols, no crystal, nothing. After the elaborate designs of the other seals, the simplicity was almost frightening. "I don't understand," Jiwoo said quietly. "Where's the test?" Felanoth's presence filled the chamber, stronger than ever before. The ancient being's voice echoed in their minds and through the air simultaneously. "There is no test. The seventh seal opens when I choose to leave. It always has. This chamber is empty because it represents choice. Nothing more, nothing less." Daiho looked around the blank white space. "So you can leave anytime you want?" "Yes. For 5 million years I could have opened this seal and left. The architects built this prison with a key on the inside. I was never truly trapped. I was hiding." The words settled over the chamber like snow. "Hiding from what?" Jiwoo asked. "From hope. From believing. From the pain of watching another civilization rise and fall. As long as I stayed here, I didn't have to witness another tragedy. I didn't have to remember another ending. I was alone, but I was safe from disappointment." Daiho sat down on the smooth white floor. After everything, after 6 seals and months of revelations, it came down to this. An ancient being too hurt to hope. "You're afraid," he said simply. "Yes, terrified. Every species I've ever known has died. Every single one. Why should you be different? Why should I let myself believe again, only to watch you fail like all the others?" "You shouldn't," Daiho said. "We probably will fail. Humanity has a terrible track record. We fight each other, we make stupid decisions, we let fear guide us more than wisdom. We're not special. Then why refuse transcendence? Why choose the hard path if you know it leads to the same end? Because the path matters. Because who we are matters even if it doesn't last forever." The architects forgot that. They thought the destination was everything, that reaching perfection was the goal. But there is no goal. There's just the journey. Velanoth's presence grew thoughtful. Daiho could feel the ancient mind working through ideas that might not have occurred to it in millions of years. "Your species voted 51 to 49. Almost half of humanity wanted paradise." "Yes," Daiho agreed. "We're not unified. We argue about everything. Half of us wanted to take your offer, but you didn't. Collectively, barely, you chose differently. No species has ever done that. They either all accept or all refuse. You did something unprecedented. You disagreed and still made a choice." Jiwoo spoke up. "That's because we're messy. We can't agree on anything, even our own survival. Is that good or bad?" "I don't know," Velanoth admitted. "But it's new. After 5 million years, I'm seeing something new. That alone is remarkable." Daiho stood up and walked to the center of the empty chamber. He felt the weight of billions of eyes watching, felt the hopes of humanity pressing down on him. But more than that, he felt the loneliness radiating from Velanoth, the desperate fear of a being that had been hurt too many times to believe in anything. "You want to know what happens next?" Daiho said. "You want to see if we'll break the pattern? But you're too scared to watch. You've been hiding in this prison not because the architects locked you in, but because you locked yourself in." "Yes," Velanoth said softly. "Is that so wrong?" "To protect myself from more pain? No, but it's not living either. You told me that the architects died when they chose perfection over growth. You're doing the same thing. You're choosing safety over experience. You're already dead, you just haven't stopped existing yet." The presence in the chamber grew cold. "You presume much, little human. I'm not presuming. I'm observing. You've carried the memory of dead civilizations for so long that you forgot how to be alive yourself. You're not a historian anymore. You're a grave." Jiwoo grabbed Daiho's arm. "Maybe don't insult the ancient cosmic being." But Velanoth laughed. Not a cruel sound, but genuine amusement mixed with something that might have been tears. "A grave. Yes, that's exactly what I am. A walking cemetery, full of epitaphs for species that dared to dream. And I've been curating that cemetery so carefully that I forgot there's a world outside it." "So leave," Daiho said. "Open the seal. Stop hiding. Come watch what happens to us, even if it ends badly. And if you fail, if you follow the pattern like everyone else, I'll have to remember your ending too. Add humanity to my collection of tragedies. Yes, but you'll also have memories of right now, of this conversation, of the moment we chose struggle over paradise, of the time we were alive, Isn't that worth remembering even if the ending is sad? Velanoth was silent for a long time. The chamber remained empty and white, waiting. Finally, the ancient being spoke again, and its voice was different, softer, more vulnerable. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can watch you and hope again. It's been so long since I believed in anything. You don't have to believe, Diho said gently. You just have to watch. Let us surprise you. We're good at that. You've already surprised me, Velanoth admitted. Refusing transcendence, staying messy and divided, choosing uncertainty. No species has done that before. Then maybe, Jiwoo suggested. The pattern isn't as fixed as you think. Maybe we're all making it up as we go along, and previous endings don't determine future ones. Chaos theory. Hana's voice came through their communicators. She was watching from the station. Small changes in initial conditions lead to vastly different outcomes. Every species was different. Their endings might have looked similar, but they were all unique paths to unique conclusions. So humanity's ending will be unique too, Velanoth said. Different from all the others, even if it still ends. Everything ends, Deho said. The question is what we do with the time we have, and whether anyone remembers us when we're gone. You've remembered hundreds of civilizations, Velanoth. You've kept them alive in your memory. That's not being a grave. That's being a witness. That's valuable. The presence in the chamber shifted like ice beginning to thaw after a long winter. I've been so focused on the endings that I forgot the beginnings. The moments when each species took its first steps into space, full of hope and wonder. The architects weren't always stagnant. Once they were like you, struggling and dreaming and alive. Remember that instead, Deho suggested. Remember all of them at their best, not just their worst. And remember us as we are now in this moment, choosing to keep trying despite knowing we might fail. I will, Velanoth said. I will remember this, all of it. But Kang Deho, I need you to understand something. If I leave this prison, I can't help you. I can't guide you or save you. I can only watch. My knowledge is yours, but my power is limited. I'm not a god who can fix your problems. We don't need a god, Deho replied. We just need a witness. Someone to remember that we tried. That's enough. The white chamber began to glow. Light filled every corner, not harsh but gentle. Like dawn breaking after a long night. Deho felt Velanoth's presence change, felt the ancient being make a choice that had been delayed for 5 million years. Then I will witness you, Velanoth said. I will leave this prison and exist in your universe. I will watch humanity struggle and fight and dream. And when your ending comes, whenever that is, I will remember everything that came before it. Your beginning and middle, not just your end. The 7th seal broke. It didn't shatter like the others. It simply dissolved like morning mist in sunlight. The chamber walls faded away, and suddenly they were standing in space, looking at the stars. Velanoth's crystal prison crumbled into light and scattered across the void. The ancient being's presence remained, but it felt different now. Free, lighter, still carrying the weight of millions of years, but no longer crushed by it. Thank you, Velanoth said, and for the first time the voice carried pure emotion, relief and fear and hope all mixed together. Thank you for being messy and imperfect and stubborn. Thank you for arguing with each other and still finding a way forward. Thank you for teaching an old being that hope is a choice, not a conclusion. Where will you go? Jiwoo asked. Everywhere, nowhere. I'll wander your universe and watch what happens. I'll see other species too, other civilizations rising. But I'll always come back to check on humanity. You're special to me now. You're the species that freed me by refusing to let me hide. Admiral An Seojun's voice came through the communicators, speaking for the millions watching. What should we do now? How do we make sure we don't follow the pattern? I don't know, Velanoth answered honestly. But I can tell you this, keep arguing with each other. Keep disagreeing and making mistakes and learning. Don't try to become perfect. The moment you think you've found the final answer is the moment you start dying. That's not very comforting, Huang Minji said. No, but it's honest. And after 5 million years of watching civilizations lie to themselves about their immortality, I've learned that honesty is more valuable than comfort. Deho felt the presence beginning to withdraw, felt Velanoth preparing to leave the solar system. Wait, he called out. Will we see you again? 6 months had passed since the 3rd seal broke. The research station around Helion 7 had transformed from a quiet outpost into the center of human civilization. Millions of people made the journey to orbit the gas giant, wanting to be near Velanoth, wanting to hear its words, wanting answers to questions humanity had asked since the beginning. 5 seals were broken now. The 4th had shattered when Choi Minho sacrificed his military career to protect the research team from political interference. The 5th broke when Park Ji-woo admitted she didn't know how to translate a crucial passage and asked for help, instead of pretending to understand. Each seal measured something essential about humanity, and somehow, despite their conflicts, they kept passing the tests. Kang Dae-ho stood at the observation window of his expanded office, looking out at the fleet of ships surrounding the station. Hundreds of vessels, from massive coalition warships to tiny personal craft. Everyone wanted to be part of this moment in history. He looked older now. The gray in his hair had spread and lines marked his face. The weight of being humanity's sole connection to an ancient god wore on him. Thousands of people sent questions every day, begging him to ask Velanoth about cures for diseases, solutions to political problems, the meaning of existence. He couldn't answer most of them. "You look tired," said a voice behind him. Yoon Hana entered carrying 2 cups of tea. She had become his closest friend during these months of chaos. Her brilliant mind helped him process the vast amounts of information Velanoth shared, turning ancient wisdom into something humans could understand. "I am tired," Dae-ho admitted, "but I can't stop now. 2 seals remain." "The 6th seal requires humility," Hana said, sitting down. "That's what my analysis shows. The question is what will trigger it. I don't know. We've tried everything. People have apologized to each other, admitted mistakes, shown deference to Velanoth. Nothing works. Maybe because we're trying to trigger it," Hana suggested. The other seals broke naturally, when people acted without thinking about the test. Authentic moments, not performances. Dae-ho nodded slowly. She was right. Every seal had broken unexpectedly, in moments of genuine human behavior. You couldn't fake what the seals measured. His communicator buzzed. Park Ji-woo was calling, her voice urgent. "Come to the chamber now. Velanoth says it needs to tell you something important. All of you. Everyone who was there at the beginning." They gathered in the crystal chamber 15 minutes later. Dae-ho, Hana, Ji-woo, and Choi Minho, the 4 who had first discovered Velanoth. Nam Junho came too, now officially part of the team after 6 months of observation. The crystal pulsed with light as they entered. "Thank you for coming." Velanoth's voice filled their minds. "I have something to confess. A truth I should have shared earlier, but I was afraid." "Afraid?" Dae-ho asked. "Of what?" "Of losing this. These conversations. Your company. For 5 million years I was alone, and then you came. I didn't want to risk driving you away with the full truth." Hana stepped closer to the crystal. "What truth?" "I am not a god. I'm not even close to one. I am a historian, nothing more. A living archive of the previous universe's civilizations. The architects imprisoned me not because I was powerful, but because my memories were painful. The presence in their minds grew heavier, filled with ancient sorrow. I remember everything, every species that rose from nothing to touch the stars, every civilization that achieved wonders. And I remember every one of their endings. Some destroyed themselves in war, some faded slowly into irrelevance, some achieved perfection and died of stagnation, as the architects did. But they all died. Every single one. We know this, Minho said. You told us before. You know the fact. But you don't understand the weight of it. I carry the death of hundreds of species in my memory. I watched them all fail. And I never, not once in all my existence, saw one succeed. The pattern always wins. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Ji-woo spoke. "So you don't think we'll make it?" "No," Velanoth said quietly. "I don't. I want to believe. I hope desperately that you'll be different. But after everything I've seen, I can't truly believe it. You will be like all the others. You will rise, you will peak, and you will fall. And I will remember you. Another beautiful tragedy in an endless cycle." Dae-ho felt the words like a physical blow, this being that they had been learning from, that millions of humans now looked to for guidance, didn't actually believe they would survive. "Then why teach us?" Hana asked. "Why share your knowledge if you think we're doomed?" "Because I'm lonely," Velanoth answered simply. "Because even a conversation that leads nowhere is better than silence. Because watching you try is beautiful even if I know you'll fail. Is that selfish? Yes. But I've been alone for so long that I'll take what companionship I can get even if it's temporary." The honesty was brutal. No pretense of wisdom or godhood. Just a lonely being admitting its own flaws. "You're broken," Dae-ho said softly. "The architects didn't just imprison you. They broke something in you. You've lost the ability to believe in anything. Perhaps 5 million years of isolation will do that. So the seventh seal, Hannah said, understanding dawning in her eyes. It doesn't open when we prove ourselves worthy. It opens when you heal enough to risk believing again. I don't know if that's possible, Velanoth said. How do you heal from watching everyone you've ever known die? How do you believe again after seeing the pattern repeat hundreds of times? They stood in silence, processing this revelation. The ancient god they had been speaking to was just as lost as they were, maybe more so. Then Velanoth spoke again, and its voice carried a new weight. I need to show you something. A choice that's coming. The sixth seal is about to break, and when it does, I will offer humanity something. I want you to understand what that offer means before it happens. The crystal flared brighter, and suddenly Deho felt information pouring into his mind. Not words, but pure knowledge. He saw the technology the architects had achieved. He saw the path to immortality, to unlimited energy, to the power to reshape reality itself. He saw how humanity could achieve transcendence, could eliminate all suffering, could become like gods. He saw the paradise that killed the architects. When the vision ended, he was on his knees, breathing hard. The others looked equally shaken. That's what I can offer you, Velanoth said. All the knowledge of the architects free for the taking. Instant transcendence. No more struggle, no more pain, no more death. Just perfection forever. But it will kill us, Jiwoo whispered. Just like it killed them. Eventually, yes. Not immediately. You'll have thousands of years of bliss first, but the pattern will take you in the end. It always does. Why offer it then? Minho demanded. Why give us poison disguised as paradise? Because the sixth seal requires a choice. Humanity must decide whether to accept transcendence or refuse it. Most species accept. They can't resist the offer of eliminating all suffering, and I watch them fade away, knowing I helped them choose extinction. Have any species refused? Deho asked. No, not one. They all choose paradise thinking they'll be different, thinking they'll maintain their vitality despite perfection. They're always wrong. Hannah stood up slowly. When will you make this offer? Soon. The sixth seal is cracking. I estimate 3 weeks before it breaks completely. When it does, every human will hear my offer. Not just you five, everyone. Every person alive will know they can choose paradise. And you think we'll accept it, Deho said. Yes, you're human. You want to eliminate suffering. It's natural. Noble even. How can you choose struggle when you could choose peace? They left the chamber in silence. Back on the station, Deho called an emergency meeting with Admiral An Seojun, Huang Minji, and the other coalition leaders. We need to prepare, he said. In 3 weeks, every human alive will be offered instant transcendence, and we need to decide as a species whether to refuse it. Refuse paradise? Seojun looked at him like he was insane. Why would we do that? Because it will kill us. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. We'll become like the architects, perfect and dead. Or we'll be different, Minji argued. Maybe we can take the transcendence and avoid their fate. That's what they all thought, Deho said. Every species Velanoth remembers. All of them believed they were special. The debate raged for 3 weeks. Across human space, people argued in homes, in government chambers, and public squares. Accept paradise or continue struggling. Eliminate suffering or maintain the fight that defined them. When the sixth seal broke, the choice was broadcast to every human mind simultaneously. Velanoth's offer, clear and simple. Accept transcendence and live forever in bliss, or refuse and continue the hard path. The vote took 1 week. 51% of humanity chose to refuse. In the crystal chamber, Deho felt Velanoth's shock ripple through his mind. You refused, the ancient being said, and for the first time its voice carried something like wonder. No species has ever refused. How? Why? Because, Deho said quietly, we'd rather be ourselves than perfect. We'd rather struggle and grow than stagnate in paradise. We're not special. We're probably not different. We'll probably follow the same pattern eventually. But we'll face that end as ourselves, not as pale copies of the architects. The sixth seal shattered. One remained. The research station went into lockdown the moment they returned. Choi Minho sent an emergency message to the Terran Coalition headquarters, marked with the highest priority code. Then they waited. The nearest diplomatic vessel was 3 weeks away, even at maximum faster-than-light speed. Kang Daiho sat in his office, staring at the wall. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. His mind kept returning to that voice, that presence that had touched his thoughts. 5 million years. The number was too large to feel real. Park Ji-woo appeared in his doorway carrying 2 cups of coffee. She looked as tired as he felt. "The symbols," she said without preamble. My AI finished the initial translation. "You need to see this." She set her tablet on his desk. The screen showed line after line of text, translated from those impossible symbols on the crystal chamber walls. "It's a history," Ji-woo explained. "The history of the architects. Their entire civilization recorded on those walls. It's like Velanoth wanted someone to understand why it was imprisoned." Daeho started reading. The architects had been like humans once, according to the records. They struggled and fought and barely survived. Then they discovered technology that changed everything. They learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level. They learned to transfer consciousness between bodies, achieving immortality. They learned to reshape planets, to create artificial stars, to build structures that defied physics. They became gods. "Keep reading," Ji-woo said quietly. The history continued. The architects spread across their galaxy, transforming everything they touched into perfect order. They eliminated disease, poverty, conflict, suffering. They created a utopia where every need was met, where no one wanted for anything, and then they stopped growing. For 1 million years, the architects existed in their perfect society, unchanging and eternal. Then they found Velanoth, drifting between galaxies, a remnant of the universe that existed before theirs. They learned what it was, what it remembered. The previous universe had also produced advanced civilizations. All of them had followed the same path: struggle, advancement, perfection, stagnation, collapse. Every single one. Velanoth remembered hundreds of civilizations that reached the pinnacle of achievement and then slowly faded away, having eliminated the very struggles that drove them to greatness. The architects looked at their own civilization and saw the pattern. They were already stagnating. Their perfect society produced no new ideas, no innovation, no growth. They were slowly dying in their paradise. Some architects argued for change, for deliberately introducing chaos back into their society. Others refused, unable to accept that suffering had value. The debate became bitter, then violent. The architects fought their first war in 1 million years, and it nearly destroyed them. In the end, the winning faction decided the problem was Velanoth. Its knowledge was too dangerous. Its memories proved that perfection was a death sentence, and they couldn't accept that truth. So they built a prison and locked Velanoth away, hoping that by hiding from the lesson, they could avoid the fate. "It didn't work," Daeho said, reaching the end of the text. "No," Ji-woo agreed. "According to the dates in the records, the architects went extinct about 1 million years after imprisoning Velanoth. Just like all the civilizations it remembered." A new voice spoke from the office doorway. "So this thing is a curse. Knowledge that kills civilizations." They turned to see Nam Junho, the military intelligence officer who had arrived on the station 2 days ago. He was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "That's one interpretation," Daeho said carefully. "What's the other interpretation?" Junho asked. "That Velanoth is a warning, a teacher. The architects died because they refused to learn, not because they knew too much." Junho walked into the office and sat down uninvited. "I've been authorized to observe your continued contact with the entity. The Coalition wants to know everything about it before making any decisions. Can you communicate with it again?" "I think so," Daeho said. It seemed willing to talk. "Then let's go talk to it." An hour later, Daeho stood in the crystal chamber again. This time he was alone. Minhyo and Junho watched from cameras mounted on his suit. Yunhana monitored the energy readings from the station. Ji-woo recorded everything. Daeho placed his hand on the central crystal. "Velanoth," he said aloud, "I'd like to continue our conversation." The presence returned to his mind, gentler this time, like a quiet voice in a library. "You came back. I wasn't certain you would. I read the history on your walls. The story of the architects. Ah, yes, I wanted whoever found me to understand. Context matters in all things." Daeho chose his words carefully. "You showed them their future. You told them their perfect society would destroy them. I showed them the truth. What they did with it was their choice. But your truth killed them. They went to war over it." Velanoth was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, the voice carried something that might have been grief. Yes, I have thought about that for 3 million years. Did I kill them? If I had never existed, would they have lived? I don't know. But I know that ignorance would have killed them just as surely. All the civilizations I remember, all the ones who achieved perfection and never met me, they all died anyway. Slower, perhaps, more quietly, but just as completely. So what's the answer? Deho asked. How does a civilization survive? If I knew that, I would not be here. I have memories of hundreds of species. None of them found the answer. Each thought they were different, special, immune to the pattern. Each was wrong. That's not very encouraging. Deho felt amusement in his mind. No, but it's honest. Tell me, Kang Deho, what do you think makes your species different? I don't know if we are different. That alone sets you apart. The architects were certain of their superiority. Every species I remember was certain they had found the final truth. Your uncertainty is refreshing. What do the other seals require? Deho asked. How do we free you? Each seal responds to a quality. The first broke when you approached with curiosity. The others require different things. Courage, sacrifice, wisdom, humility, growth, and finally, choice. And if we break all 7 seals, what happens then? I go free. I can leave this prison and exist in your universe. To do what? To watch. To remember. To perhaps finally see a civilization that breaks the pattern. Deho felt the weight of that hope. You think we might succeed where everyone else failed? I don't know. But you're young. Very young. You haven't had time to calcify into certainty. You still argue with each other, still change, still struggle. That's more than most species have when they find me. Back on the station, Junho's voice came through the comm. Ask it what it wants. Deho repeated the question. Belanoth's presence grew stronger. What do I want? I want to see what happens next. For 5 million years, I have been frozen, unchanging, alone. I want to exist again. To experience time. To witness your species and see if youth and uncertainty and struggle can produce what age and certainty and perfection could not. I want to hope again. The words hung in the air. Deho realized that Velanoth wasn't dangerous because it wanted to destroy. It was dangerous because it knew the truth, that every path led to extinction. That perfect knowledge was paralyzing, but it still hoped. I'll keep talking to you, Deho said quietly, but I can't promise we'll free you. I know, but talking is enough for now. After 5 million years of silence, even conversation is a gift. Deho left the chamber and returned to the station. In the conference room, Junho was already arguing with Minho about what to do next. We should destroy it, Junho said. This knowledge has killed every civilization that learned it. Or we should study it, Minho countered. Understanding why civilizations fall might help us avoid that fate. They both looked at Deho as he entered. What do you think? Minho asked. Deho thought about Velanoth's loneliness, about 5 million years of silence, about hope that refused to die even after watching countless civilizations crumble. I think, he said slowly, that running from truth never saved anyone. The architects tried to lock away the lesson and it killed them. Maybe we need to learn it instead. And if it kills us too? Junho asked. Then at least we tried something different. 3 weeks later, when the coalition diplomatic vessel arrived, the second seal broke. It happened when Jiwoo refused an order to stop her research, choosing truth over career advancement. The crystal pulsed once, and they all felt Velanoth's approval in their minds. 6 seals remained. The asteroid tumbled slowly through the darkness of space, just another piece of rock in the belt surrounding the gas giant Helion 7. Kang Deho watched it on his screen, his coffee growing cold in his hand. He had been studying asteroids for 20 years, and this one looked wrong. The mineral composition didn't match anything natural. The density readings made no sense. Something was inside it. Deho was 42 years old, with gray starting to show in his black hair. He ran the research station that orbited Helion 7, leading a small team of scientists who studied the strange things humanity found as they spread across the stars. Most days were boring. Today would not be boring. Park Jiwoo burst into his office without knocking. She was 28, brilliant, and terrible at remembering social norms. Her specialty was alien languages, or what passed for languages when you found old ruins. She waved her tablet at him. Look at these scan results. That's not an asteroid. That's a structure. Someone built it. Daiho took the tablet and studied the images. Deep inside the rock, metal and crystal formed patterns that couldn't be natural. The structure was old, very old. The reading suggested it had been there for millions of years, long before humans left Earth, long before any civilization they had ever discovered. "We need to go look at it," Jiwoo said. Her eyes were bright with excitement. Daiho nodded slowly. "Get Choi Minho and Yoon Hana. We're going to need approval from the commander and someone who understands quantum physics if this thing is using exotic matter." 6 hours later, they were suited up and approaching the asteroid in a small shuttle. Choi Minho sat in the pilot's seat, his military training evident in his precise movements. He was 55, a career officer who had taken this quiet posting after decades of service. He didn't like surprises, and this was definitely a surprise. Yoon Hana floated in the back of the shuttle, already running calculations on her tablet. At 35, she had published 7 papers on quantum mechanics that Daiho couldn't understand. She looked worried. "The energy readings are impossible," she said quietly. "This thing is powered, but there's no fuel source I can detect. It's like it's pulling energy from nowhere." They cut into the asteroid carefully, using plasma torches to slice through the rock. It took 3 days to reach the structure. When they finally cleared away the last layer of stone, they found themselves looking at a wall of black crystal that seemed to absorb light. Daiho placed his gloved hand against it. The crystal was warm. He could feel vibrations through his suit like a heartbeat. "There's an opening here," Minho called from the left side. They gathered around what looked like a doorway, though there was no door, just an empty frame leading into darkness. Jiwoo pushed forward, holding up a light. "I'm going in." "Wait," Daiho said, but she was already through. He cursed and followed her, with Hana and Minho behind. The interior was a single large chamber, perfectly spherical. The walls were covered in symbols that hurt to look at, as if they existed in more than 3 dimensions. In the center of the room floated a crystal structure, roughly the size of a human, glowing with soft blue light. "Beautiful," Jiwoo whispered. She pulled out her equipment, preparing to scan the symbols. "My AI should be able to start building a translation matrix if I can feed it enough data." Daiho wanted to tell her to stop, to slow down, to think about what they were doing, but he didn't. The scientist in him wanted to know what this place was just as badly as she did. Jiwoo connected her equipment to the crystal structure. Her AI began analyzing the symbols, searching for patterns, building a framework for understanding. The chamber remained silent except for the soft hum of their equipment. Then the crystal pulsed. Light filled the chamber, brilliant and cold. Daiho felt something touch his mind, like fingers brushing against his thoughts. He heard Hana gasp. Minho reached for his weapon. A voice spoke, not through the air, through their minds directly in Korean that felt ancient and strange. "Finally, someone has come." Jiwoo stumbled backward, her equipment falling from her hands. Daiho forced himself to stay calm, though his heart was racing. "Who are you?" he asked aloud. "I am Velanoth. I have been waiting here for 5 million years. You have broken the first seal of my prison." The words settled over them like cold water. Prison, seal, 5 million years. Minho's voice was tight with tension. "What did we just release?" The presence in their minds felt amused. "Nothing yet. There are 7 seals. You have broken one. The others remain. I cannot leave this place until all 7 are broken." Hana found her voice. "Who imprisoned you?" "Why?" "The architects. A civilization that rose to power when this universe was young. They feared what I am." "What are you?" Daiho asked. There was a long pause. Then the voice said, "I am a memory. I am what remains when a universe dies and another begins. I carry the history of the cycle before this one. The architects learned of my existence and decided such knowledge was too dangerous to be free." Jiwoo had recovered her equipment and was frantically taking notes. "You're from before the Big Bang? That's impossible." "Many things are impossible until they happen," Velanoth said. Tell me, small ones, what is your species called? Humans, Deho said. We come from a planet called Earth. Humans. The word rolled through their minds like thunder. How long has your species existed? About 200,000 years on our homeworld. We've been in space for about 1,000 years. So young. There was something like sadness in the voice. The architects had existed for 10 million years when they found me. They thought themselves wise. They were wrong. Minho's hand was still on his weapon. What happened to them? They are gone. Extinct. Their civilization collapsed 3 million years ago, and I remained here, locked away, with no one to speak to. Until now. Daiho felt the weight of those words. 3 million years of silence. He tried to imagine it and failed. Why did you activate when we touched the crystal? He asked. The first seal breaks when someone seeks to understand rather than to conquer. Your companion approached with curiosity, not aggression. That opened the door. Chiwu looked up from her notes. What happens now? What do the other seals require? That depends on your species. Each seal responds to a quality. The architects designed this prison to ensure that only a worthy civilization could free me. They believed no such civilization would ever exist. And if we free you? Deho asked. What will you do? Velanoth's presence in their minds grew stronger, and for a moment Deho felt the vast age of the being, the weight of memories spanning universes. I do not know. I have been alone for so long that I have forgotten what freedom feels like. But I would like to find out. Will you help me, young humans? Or will you flee and leave me here for another 1,000,000 years? Deho looked at his team. Chiwu was practically vibrating with excitement. Hana looked terrified but fascinated. Minho's expression was unreadable. We need to report this, Minho said. This is beyond our authority. He's right, Deho agreed. But I think we should keep talking, carefully. Wise, Velanoth said. I have time. I have nothing but time. Come back when you are ready, and we will speak more. I find I enjoy conversation after so long without it. The light faded from the crystal. The presence withdrew from their minds, leaving them alone in the chamber. They stood in silence for a long moment. Then Jiwoo started laughing, a slightly hysterical sound. We just talked to a god, she said. Not a god, Daiho corrected quietly. A prisoner, and we just became jailers. They made their way back to the shuttle, each lost in their own thoughts. Behind them, the crystal pulsed softly in the darkness, keeping its ancient vigil. The first seal was broken. 6 remained. The coalition ships arrived like a storm, 3 massive vessels that made the research station look like a toy. Admiral An Seojun commanded the fleet, a career military officer with 40 years of service and eyes that calculated the value of everything. He wanted answers. More than that, he wanted the power that Velanoth represented. Kang Daiho sat across from the admiral in the station's conference room, trying not to show his exhaustion. He had spent the last 3 weeks talking with Velanoth every day, learning fragments of ancient history, discussing philosophy and the nature of civilization. The admiral didn't care about any of that. This entity has knowledge that could advance humanity by thousands of years, Seojun said, his hands folded on the table. And you're treating it like a conversation partner instead of a resource. It's not a resource, Deho replied. It's a living being. It's a tool left behind by a dead civilization. Tools are meant to be used. Behind the admiral stood Nam Junho, the intelligence officer who had been observing for weeks. He looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The conference room door opened and Huang Minji entered. She was the coalition's representative from the ethics committee, sent to evaluate the situation. At 40, she had spent her career asking difficult questions about humanity's expansion into space. She sat down without waiting for an invitation. I've read all the reports, she said. This thing is dangerous. Every civilization that encountered it died. We should destroy it before it destroys us. Or, Seojun countered, we learn from their mistakes. We're not the architects. We won't make their errors. That's what they all thought, Minji said sharply. That's what Velanoth told Deho. Every species believed they were special. They argued for an hour, going in circles. Finally, Deho stood up. "Velanath won't talk to any of you," he said quietly. "It will only speak with me. So whatever you decide, you need me." Seojin's eyes narrowed. "That can be changed. We can force communication." "No, you can't. I've tried to explain how the interface works. It responds to intent. If you approach with force, it shuts down. If you approach trying to extract information, it shuts down. It only responds to genuine conversation." "Then you'll continue the conversations," Seojin said, "under our supervision, and you'll ask the questions we need answered." Daeho shook his head. "That's not how this works." The Admiral's face hardened. "I'm not asking, Dr. Kang. This is too important for personal feelings. That night, someone tried to kill Daeho. He was walking back to his quarters when the corridor lights went out. In the darkness, he heard footsteps running toward him. Training from years of fieldwork kicked in, and he threw himself sideways into a cross corridor. Something hit the wall where his head had been, hard enough to dent the metal. Then light filled the corridor. Not from the station systems, but from everywhere at once. Daeho felt Velanath's presence stronger than it had ever been, filling the entire station. "No," the voice said. Not in Daeho's mind, but echoing through the air itself. "You will not harm him." The attacker, a figure in dark clothes with their face covered, stumbled backward and ran. Alarms started blaring. Security teams rushed to the scene. In Daeho's mind, Velanath spoke softly. "Interesting. Your species would kill the bridge between us rather than let others control that bridge. Is this typical?" "Unfortunately, yes," Daeho replied silently. "How do you survive when you fight among yourselves so viciously?" "Barely. But we keep trying." He felt amusement from the ancient being. "Your chaos is beautiful." The architects eliminated all internal conflict. They saw disagreement as a flaw to be corrected. "But watching your species fight over me, I see something they lost. You're alive in a way they weren't." The investigation into the assassination attempt led nowhere. The attacker had escaped, their identity hidden. But everyone knew the truth. The factions around Velanath were forming. Those who wanted to use it, those who wanted to destroy it, and those who wanted to understand it. Each group saw the others as the enemy. Meanwhile, Yunhana made a discovery that changed everything. She burst into Daeho's office 3 days after the attack, her tablet shaking in her hands. "The second seal," she said breathlessly. "I've been analyzing when it broke. When Jiwoo chose truth over orders. What about it? The seals aren't just responding to actions. They're measuring qualities. The first seal broke with curiosity. The second broke with integrity. I've been modeling the energy patterns, and I think I know what the others measure." She showed him her data, complex quantum equations that Daeho barely understood, but the conclusion was clear. The third seal requires courage. The fourth requires sacrifice. The fifth requires wisdom. The sixth requires humility. And the seventh, she paused. The seventh is different. It's not measuring us. It's measuring Velanath itself. What do you mean? The prison isn't just testing if we're worthy to free it. It's testing if Velanath is ready to be free. The seventh seal opens when the prisoner chooses to leave, not when we choose to release them. Daeho sat back in his chair, processing this. "So we can't actually free it. Velanath has to free itself." "Exactly. The architects didn't build a prison to keep it locked away forever. They built a prison that would only open when both the jailers and the prisoner were ready." "Why?" Hana smiled sadly. "Because they weren't monsters. They were scared. They imprisoned Velanath because its knowledge broke them, but they built in a way out. They hoped that someday someone worthy would come. Someone who could hear the truth without breaking." That evening, Daeho returned to the crystal chamber alone. Security protocols had been relaxed after Velanath's intervention during the attack. Everyone understood now that the ancient being could protect itself if it chose to. "You know about the seventh seal," Velanath said as soon as he touched the crystal. It wasn't a question. "Yes, you have to choose to leave. For 5 million years I have wanted freedom, but I've also been afraid. Every species I remember, I watched them die. Everyone I ever spoke to, everyone I ever knew, all gone to dust. If I leave this prison, I will watch your species too, and eventually I will watch you die. All of you. That knowledge is heavy. But you still hope," Daeho said. "You told me that. Hope and certainty are different things. I hope humanity will break the pattern, but I don't believe it. How can I after everything I've seen? Maybe that's the point," Daeho said slowly, working through the thought. Maybe the test isn't whether we'll succeed. Maybe it's whether we'll try anyway, knowing we might fail. The presence in his mind grew thoughtful. Explain. The architects achieved perfection and died. Every civilization you remember followed the same path. But they all tried to reach an endpoint, a final answer. We're not trying to finish the story. We're just trying to write the next page. And when you fail, when the pattern takes you like it took all the others, then at least we tried something different. We argued, we fought. We nearly killed each other over you. That's not perfection. That's not even close. But it's alive. Velinoth was silent for a long time. Finally it spoke again. The third seal requires courage, not physical bravery, but the courage to continue despite knowing the odds. Your species has shown me fragments of this. The admiral who wants to use me, he has a kind of courage, even if it's misguided. The ethics officer who wants to destroy me, she has courage too, facing a threat directly. What about me? Tejo asked. You have the courage to keep talking, to keep trying to understand, even knowing that understanding might be fatal. That's the rarest courage of all. The crystal pulsed. Throughout the station, every screen flickered. The third seal had broken. Back in the conference room, Admiral Seojin was shouting at someone over the comm. Huang Minji sat quietly watching everything. Nam Junho approached Daeho as he entered. Things are getting worse, Junho said quietly. More factions are forming. Some want to worship Velinoth as a god. Others want to destroy it as a demon. The coalition is fracturing over this. Good, Daeho said. Junho stared at him. Good? If we all agreed, we'd be like the architects. Dead certainty. This chaos means we're still alive, still changing, still becoming something new. That's insane. Maybe. But it's human. 4 seals remained, and humanity had never been more divided. Velinoth watched it all from its prison, and for the first time in millions of years allowed itself to believe that chaos might be another word for hope.